Hi there, my name's Dr. Lizette Ojeda. Let me show you. This is pretty cool. I help overwhelmed and exhausted leaders lead at their best, be present in their personal life with family, loved ones, without sacrificing themselves. That includes your health, mental health, your needs. It's really possible. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about something that's really important. We're talking about the downside of success and how high achievers pay the price of success. So this is a really important topic because you work really, really hard to get to where you are, right? Sacrifice so many things, right? Go to college, work really hard to climb up the ladder, get into your leadership position, learning the ropes, going through transitions, being in charge of other people. And so that's a lot of responsibility, right? On top of just someone working their typical job. And to add to that, right, there's pressure to perform at your best. There's pressure to make sure that all your direct reports, your team, are doing what they're supposed to do. And you have the sense of responsibility to make sure it's all getting done. And that's a lot of pressure because not only do you have to lead yourself, you have to lead others, right? Several others, mostly, usually. So there is a cost to your career. Okay. The cost of your career, what does that look like? Well, when you're highly successful, yeah, this is where I want to go. Okay. I was going to go in a different direction, but this is really important. When you're really successful, you become more susceptible to imposter syndrome. And like 70% of people have experienced imposter syndrome some way or the other. Okay. And imposter syndrome is basically when highly successful people doubt their abilities in some way. Maybe they think, how did I get here? I just got lucky. I knew the right people, despite clear evidence that they are successful, that they are accomplished. Okay. And the thing is, the more successful you become, the more susceptible you become to imposter syndrome. Why? Because you're among other high achievers too. You hear what I'm saying? Um, and so you only see what they're doing right. You don't know what their challenges are, right? You only know yours. And so you might compare yourself. So there's a cost to being successful. That's imposter syndrome. What's another cost? Well, the possibility of burnout, right? When you've got so many other responsibilities besides your work, which, by the way, when you're so overwhelmed and exhausted because you've been working so hard to get to the level that you are, um, it puts a huge burden on you, right? And so it becomes really difficult to be able to show up as your best self in your career. And it's not because you can't do it, it's because you don't have enough resources to be able to handle the high demands that you are expected to be able to do, right? And so what I find people doing is they will either step back, step down, or step out. Okay. And this is really, really sad because you missed out on going towards your infinite potential. I don't like to say full potential because I believe that it's never done. It just depends on how much you want to grow and how much you want to stretch yourself and handle hard things that take you outside your comfort zone, but will help you get to that next level, will help you um, accomplish the things that you really want that matter to you. And so this cost to your career is really serious because you worked really hard to get here. And when you put an enormous amount of pressure on yourself, as most high achievers do, because they're used to being successful, right? You burn out. Point blank, you burn out. You will find yourself on this stress cycle where all the pressure that you put on yourself, all the pressure that is put on you by others, the pressure you have to make sure that your team is doing their work without micromanaging them. By the way, they don't want to be micromanaged. That's a complaint I hear quite a bit from high potential talent. We also don't want to go in there and just say, you know what, it's faster if I do it myself. Let me just do it. Because that takes away from their ability to do their work, right? And that does them a disservice, quite frankly, because you're not allowing them to apply their zone of brilliance in the job that they were hired to do, in the project that was entrusted um, uh, upon them for them. So, and so you decide, let me just do it myself, right? Um, but when that happens quite a bit, you become even more overwhelmed. So you got a lot on your plate, and it can cost you your career. You might get an unexpected bad review. You might be this would be horrible, but we don't want this, so I'm gonna have to mention it. You might be put on a performance review plan, and as high achievers, we don't like that, right? We usually get our job done and do it well. We work really hard to make sure all our T's are crossed, um, I's are dotted, you know? And so when this comes all of a sudden, it's really painful, right? For that to get in your way, for that to basically throw away potentially everything that you worked so hard for, right, in your career to get to the level that you are right now. And this is especially a big issue if you are the first in your family to be in this type of role and have this type of title. If you are one of the few, the first, or the only in your position, because that's an added layer of pressure. So you don't want to stand out um, as the person who represents your group, other people in your group, other people that are in your group that will be able to have this opportunity to be a leader too. And so I hear oftentimes from clients who are marginalized in some way, shape, or form, like women, BIPOC, um, LGBT, people with disabilities, neurodiverse. And so it becomes a lot to handle. So it's a big cost to your career, and you don't want to sacrifice it. What I also find people doing is they think they have to just quit. Um, and that's horrible because, like I said, it doesn't allow you to pursue your infinite potential, and um, organizations lose really successful, committed, engaged, talented people, and that's really costly, right? Not only does it cost you, it also costs the organization, right? So HR, take note, please. um, so let me tell you about the second one. The second one is a cost to your relationships. So whenever you have reached a certain level of success, most most of the time what I find is that there's a desire to not stay there. There's a desire to go to that next level of success. What's next? Um, Continue to go up the ranks, right? From senior manager to director to VP, C-suite, right? You name it. The sky's the limit. But you can't do it if you are overwhelmed and exhausted, right? You can't. And see, not only does your career take a hit, but so does your family, friends, loved ones, relationships in general, because you're so preoccupied with making sure that you show up as the successful person you are, despite having all these different balls that you're bouncing, right? Bouncing your own work, bouncing your team and direct reports, managing up, right? Um, and now on top of that, your personal life, right? And that's what I often see that is being neglected. Relationships suffer when you're so like laser focused, tunnel vision, right? Laser focused on advancing your career. The other thing that I see is if it's not advancing, it's maintaining. So wanting to prove yourself that you deserve this position, right? But then in the meantime, your relationships suffer. Why? Because we think that they are there, like our spouse or our kids, they're not really going to leave, they're not going to move out. And while maybe that might not happen, it does happen though. It can distance you, it can disconnect you if you're not able to be present with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, people who matter to you, right? And so one day you look up thinking that you can put it on the bookshelf, right? Let me just put my personal life on hold while I accomplish X. But see, it's never done, right? There's always another challenge, another area of growth that you can pursue in your career. And so we start to see things like this. Like your spouse saying, I thought you were going to get off the computer already. You said just a minute. That was an hour ago. Or your children stop coming to you for support or just to engage because they've learned that basically, honestly, work comes first. Ouch. I know that hurts. But I'm just trying to tell you this, be straight up with you, because this is what I see time and time again, and I don't want it to happen to you. But if it has happened to you already, you need to do something about it because it's only going to get worse. You can't expect some kind of magic potion to just appear and that it's going to solve all your problems. That's not how it works. And you know that. I mean, you've gotten this far in your career. You know that. And so I would hate for you to not just lose everything you've built in your career, but the relationships you've built, right? To strain them. Feel like you and your spouse are just kind of crossing each other's paths, living kind of like roommates, right? So busy with work, right? Friends stop asking you, hey, do you want to hang out? Because you've said no a couple times. And so they stop trying. It's the same thing with your family and your spouse. Like, what's the point? I already know their MO. And before you know it, I don't wish this upon you. I don't wish this upon anyone. But I've seen leaders' personal life be destroyed because they just don't know when to stop working. They over-identify with their career and their success. You deserve that. You deserve to have a really a career that thrives, where you feel fulfilled and have some meaning and are creating impact. But you also have a personal life, and there are people in it, people who love you and want to spend time with you and who need you. They need you, right? In some way or fashion. Sometimes that gets ugly, really ugly. I've seen separations occur because it just gets that bad. Don't let that be you, okay? All right, so the third cost I want to talk about, this is the last one. It's the cost to yourself. And here's the thing. This is the most important area where people should be focused. Yet, this is the area where people mostly put themselves, leave it on the back burner. They put themselves last. They're not a priority. But here's the thing. How do you expect to show up as your best as a leader, be able to continue to move forward if you are not okay? If you are not able to manage your energy, if you are having a hard time dealing with stress, right? Really overwhelmed and exhausted from all the things that come up all the time that stress you out. And so if you don't take care of yourself, your career will suffer. Believe me. People might start to ask you, hey, are you okay? And you start to wonder, oh my gosh, is it really showing? I thought my fake smile would do the trick. And it doesn't, right? It doesn't. And so that's one reason why you need to take care of yourself. Okay? Career will suffer. But let's talk about relationships, family. How does not taking care of yourself prevent you to be from being able to take care of your loved ones, right? To be there for them, a source of support when they need it, being able to be present with them, not thinking about work, right? Being in your own head or being on the phone, right? So it doesn't have to be physical where you can see it. It could just be mental. Your brain's in la la land or thinking about your to-do list. And your loved ones can tell. They can tell you are disconnected, that you're not really there. And that hurts them. I know you don't want that. You don't. But this is probably how you've been functioning in for a very long time, right? So we want to break that cycle. Sometimes we get way too comfortable and think, oh, you know what? My family's always going to be there. My spouse is there. Let me just take this time to get to this level, right? Or to finish this project. And then I will attend to my loved ones, my family, my spouse, my partner. Doesn't work that way. So when you don't take care of yourself, you're not able to be fully engaged with your family, friends, loved ones. And a lot of times I hear that you want to be able to be there for other people. Most of the clients I have, they're very focused on service. Like they really want to help other people, help them succeed, be there for others, but you got to be there for yourself if you want to be there for others. Point blank. You can't do it. You can't. You're not a machine. So I mentioned career, the cost of yourself to your career, right? How not taking care of yourself affects your career negatively. How not taking care of yourself affects your relationships, your personal life negatively. Now, how does it affect you as a person? Because you're more than just a professional, a partner, a parent. You're a person. And so you have to attend to yourself, commit to yourself, just like you do for other people. You have a lot of integrity. When you say you're going to do something, you pretty much do it unless something happens, an emergency. Whenever you see a meeting on your calendar, even though you might be frustrated, like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go to this meeting. What's the point? You still show up because you're committed, you're loyal, you have integrity. But what about self-integrity? Do you even put yourself on the calendar? How many doctor's appointments are long overdue? Are you sleeping adequately? Are you eating well? Like I said, you're not a machine. Your body needs fuel, just like a car does. How can you transport people, your family, for example, if you're running on empty? Do you get that analogy? I just came up with that right now. So in case it doesn't make a lot of sense, that's why. But I think you get the point, right? You cannot be running on empty, right? You can't. And so there's a physical cost. There's also the psychological cost, the cost to your mental health. And it's a slippery slope. Physical health issues is more easily can be more easily pinpointed. Mental health issues is not as easy. Why? Because successful people are used to burning the midnight oil, pushing through, being resilient, facing challenges head on. And so you put up with a lot more than the average person. It's just in your DNA to be that goal-oriented, driven, ambitious. So you might think to yourself, oh, you know what? I just need to suck it up. I just need to have thicker skin. Why can they do it and I can't? I need to be more assertive, stronger, advocate for myself, all kinds of things that go through your mind. And when you have a lot of those, you start to feel bad about yourself. And when you start to feel bad about yourself, you start to get anxious about how you're showing up. What's going to happen? What if this? What if that? I got to do this. If I don't do it, then that. Right? And so you put yourself back on the back burner. You put your loved ones on the back burner. Because your focus tends to be work, right? It's where you get your sense of value, sense of self. And that's just how it is usually for my high achieving leaders. And so the anxiety comes up. And then what comes up? Feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, like, what's the point? I'm so tired all the time. I can barely handle this. And then you get snappy, irritable at work, right? With direct reports, where honestly, like, where you feel like, how do I say this? It becomes harder to lead without lashing out, potentially without, you know, sounding um, aggressive, right? Being punitive. Um, it becomes really hard to do that when you're so overwhelmed and stressed out. And that's not you. You don't treat people like that. I mean, that's why you got in this position in the first place, because you're a people leader, right? And you're leading people on a team to get to a certain goal, right? And so that you might, take it out on them. I also see stress being taken out on family, because you think they're not going anywhere, or the dog, or the person at the checkout line. It's usually someone who has less power than you, so to speak. Okay. And then you regret it, right? You regret it because that's not you. You don't do that to people. It's not you. It's the stressed version of you. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why it's so important for you to take care of yourself, because all this stress, all this bottling down your needs so you can succeed, or stay succeeding, or succeed even more, or do all the things you need to do for your personal life. Where do you come in? You are the foundation to the house that you've built, literally, right? Your career house, your house. I can't emphasize this enough. And the sad thing is that it's really difficult for people to get this until they get to their breaking point, is when they realize, you know what? I need to do something about this. Sometimes it's too late by then. And that's sad, because things just start crumbling, start falling apart. The foundation that they built, the house, has cracks in them. That's another analogy I just came up with, by the way. I don't want this to be you, okay? There are tools that you can get to help you succeed, get further, faster, easier, more success, less stress, okay? And if that's something you're struggling with, let me see. Where am I? If that's something you're struggling with, I want you to message me. This is what I do. I research this stuff, apply this stuff. I'm a behavioral scientist and psychologist and executive coach and speaker. And so I know what I'm talking about. And I'm sharing this information with you because here's an opportunity for you to do something about this. If not with me, do it with somebody else. Okay? You got to take control back of your life, right? Because I don't want you to fall apart. I don't want your career to fall apart. I don't want your family to fall apart. I don't want anything that is of value and importance and that you've worked so hard to build to fall apart. You don't deserve that. Don't let that happen to you. Okay? So reach out to me if this is something you want help with. Message me, and we'll talk. I'll listen to what's going on for you, and I'll give you some recommendations as to what you can do. And if it's a good fit, if I feel like I can definitely help you, then I'll invite you to work with me. So I hope this has been helpful. Bottom line is, where am I? Where am I? Oh my gosh, sorry. Yeah, bottom line is that success, you've paid a pretty price to become successful, right? You've paid a pretty price, and you don't deserve to continue to pay a price. You don't have to. You can have a thriving career, a fulfilling personal life, and reconnect with yourself without sacrificing any of it. It's possible for you. Let me show you how. So if that's something you're interested in, send me a message and we'll go from there. Until next time, take care.